Before we get back to the show, let me tell you about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and Facebook and Instagram as well at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing. Make sure to grab a cannoli as well while you're there. Bart's Pizza, it's too good.
Yo, 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 I'm Jake Masucci from Jake's Takes. I wanted to talk a little bit about my show on my guy Giovanni's own show. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about Jake's Takes. I'm a student manager at Oakland University, and I kind of just talk all things sports. I talk a lot about the NBA, talk a little college basketball. We did a lot of March Madness stuff recently. We talked about NBA playoffs, NFL playoffs, talked a lot about the NFL draft. It's basically just an all things sports show. I really think you guys would enjoy it. And shout out to my guy Giovanni. Love him. But please check out Jake's Takes. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and then it's also available on its own YouTube channel. So please check out Jake's Takes, but please continue enjoying Giovanni's show.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow interviews, right here on 88.3 FM WXOU. I'm your host and sports media director of WXOU, Giovanni Mosheri, and today we're kind of double dipping. We got Golden Grizzlies baseball, we got USPBL baseball, as well as Diamond Hoppers, baby. And we're double dipping here with a very special guest. If you've seen me on Twitter, you see me on Instagram, you know I kind of mentioned this person a little bit. Former pitcher for the Golden Grizzlies and now Eastside Diamond Hopper. We got Christian the Stache Stelling in the studio today. Christian, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Awesome to have you here. It was kind of, for me, I know I always kind of bug you on Twitter a little bit. I see, and you know, the likes and retweets are nice and all that. I'm like, what if I just had him on the show? So, absolutely happy to have you here.
I said one of my coaches was like, he might ask you to be on the show a little bit. I was like, you know what? I might have to like prep myself for that.
So you saw it coming.
I kind of had an idea. I kind of figured at some point.
I wanted to wait until championship weekend was over and, slid into the DMs, you know? That's how it works. So to get things started, I usually start to I want to get the background of all the athletes I interview. What got you into sports? What sports you played growing up? So kind of give me the roadmap of like your early sports career. Like what did you play? Has it always been baseball? Kind of how'd you get started?
Well, soccer was always my biggest sport for the most part. But soccer, baseball, a little bit of basketball. But then got into high school, gave up on basketball, realized it wasn't for me.
Oh no.
But mostly soccer, and then I was gonna go play college soccer, and then I realized I was like, you know what, I think I enjoy baseball more.
Oh, really?
And so I kind of switched up at the end of it. And
so did you have offers for both soccer and baseball coming out of high school?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was a lot better at soccer at the time. And but then, I ended up deciding to go to junior college to play baseball and see if I could crack it there. Figure it out.
Yeah. And when did you figure out that you would be able to pitch? Like, how did you know like that was going to be your spot, like early in your baseball days?
Well, I played outfield and pitched when I was younger, and then once I got to high school, I realized I just wasn't a good hitter, and it kind of got forced on me just to pitch. I just couldn't swing the bat very well.
So it was just kind of you had to pitch.
Didn't have a choice. Had to figure it out.
So when you were playing soccer, I guess like what was the decision making process like? I know you mentioned that you liked baseball more, but kind of deciding that, like what went into the decision to continue with baseball?
I think most of it was just I didn't like running. I realized that I was like, you know what?
Sucks.
Running isn't for me. I'm good at it, but it's like I just don't really enjoy doing it at all. It's like, and then with pitching, it's like I don't have to run at all. I can just sit on the mound. That's about it. It's like that was actually a big part of it. And then just realizing I was like, I'm actually as I started getting better at baseball, I was like, then I started enjoying it more, and it kind of just became more favorite at the time.
So when you got to junior college, what would you say is the difference between that and now, and when you went to Oakland for D1 baseball? Kind of like, did you notice any difference in either competition or play styles or anything like that?
I think it's more of a team sport when you get to the Division I level. In junior college, everyone's trying to like you're trying to win baseball games, but at the same time you're trying to market yourself. You're not really playing like as a team. Like if there's a time where you need to like lay a bunt down and move a runner, you're probably not doing that in junior college. You're swinging for the fences.
Yeah, you need highlights.
Yeah, and you're as a pitcher, it was harder. It's a lot harder to pitch, not because the skill level's a little bit better, but guys are taking more team-oriented at bats, trying to, not trying to strike out, fighting the whole time they're up there. Junior college, you could have 2 strikes and they're still swinging for the fences.
Yeah,
if you just threw it in the dirt, they're swinging for it. Like didn't really change much.
it's an axe swing or a golf swing,
Yep.
all the way up or
Yep.
down.
They're just trying to hit everything over the fence.
So coming from Imperial, Missouri, did a little Googling, I found that one. So I'm fascinated by people who go to school out of state, not as in like, why would you do that? But I've never been west of Kalamazoo. I've been east, but I've always been around Michigan. I live in Macomb, which is a half hour away from Rochester here. So for you from Missouri, choosing to go now to a Michigan school, how do you find, out of all the places in the country, how did you pick Oakland?
Well, so after I went to junior college, I actually transferred to a D2 in Illinois, University of Illinois Springfield, and I ended up having to transfer out of there, and it just so happened that Banfield had started his coaching career there.
Oh,
so
no
we kind of
kidding.
had to connect there, and I guess that's how he found me.
So you knew Banfield, and when he was going to Oakland, did you guys have a conversation about both going to Oakland and about him bringing you with him?
So I didn't actually know him at the time when I was at my old school.
Okay.
He was there a few years prior,
Mhm.
like starting his coaching career. Then I went there, and like the head coach at the time also was, before he was the head coach, was the assistant coach there with Banfield.
Okay.
So they knew each other, and I guess whenever I entered the transfer portal, Banfield probably saw it and was like, "Oh, wait a minute! Like, I'll talk to the coach, see what he thinks, see what he says." I ended up here.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. So, yeah, and coming, not only like, oh, how did you find Oakland, but like the transition, because you're far away from home, and I've never been that far from home for a very long time. So, what's that process like? Getting to a new place, meeting new people, kind of like, what was your experience?
I honestly thought it was gonna be harder. Just I was like, I had been a couple hours away from home. That was about the extent of it, like 2 or 3. And then I was like, man, I know I'm 10 and a half.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be. I was like, I'm more of a homebody, so I was kind of figuring. I was like, I might miss the family a lot, but just calling them all the time, you don't really don't bat an eye. It's just kind of part of it. And then don't have a problem meeting people. So it's like as soon as I get with the team, it was like smooth sailing. Didn't really have a problem with it.
So you say you're a little more of a social butterfly, like you kind of new people. You're like, I'm friends with everyone now.
That was basically it. I was like, I'm good with everybody. Like, we're going to have a good time.
So when you got now to Oakland, so you were here, your first season was 2022, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
So when you met the new team, was that kind of how it all went? You just got along with the team very well, or like kind of what was your relationship like with the teammates?
I'm going to say, I think from the beginning, like the way our team gelled was different than, it was a different experience than like my other schools. It's not like we didn't get along at my other schools, but like we were very close, like immediately within the first week of me getting here, guys were reaching out, making sure like I was a part of stuff, making sure I was with everybody, meeting everybody. So like it was instantly gelling together, kind of becoming a family.
Yeah, and it's a big team too, so that's usually kind of a difficult thing to pull off. So Golden Grizzlies stay together, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So getting more to the baseball side of things at Oakland, since Coach Banfield has been at Oakland, you guys have been close to the top of the Horizon League. And the past 2 years, runner-up to Wright State in the championship game and of the conference championship game. So, from your experience, you being there, getting so close, kind of like what's the not aftermath, but like what's the conversations like afterwards? Runner-up 2 years in a row. Kind of, not trying to pour salt on the wound here, but I'm just curious, like what do you guys do to move on and to continue after that?
It was kind of just like when our season ended, it was like, hey, like we're this close. It's like we just got to keep plugging away, like just keep finding one more thing to get better at, keep making a difference. And it was like, and I think that's what we did like from year 1 to year 2. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do from 2 to 3 coming up, is just keep finding ways to get just a little bit better, find a way to not just get to the championship, but finally win the championship and move on.
And what is it? So Wright State, I'm like looking back at history, they're pretty good at baseball. We'll put it that way. So what do you think makes the difference for them in their program?
Honestly, I'm not like, they have a different type of, you can tell they recruit a little differently than we do. Their guys are they're big, strong. They try to hit everything over the fence. They try to throw hard. And as I think with us, we try to play more small ball. Like, yeah, we'll hit home runs, but for the most part, we're trying to move runners. I think that's just the way they recruit, is just we're going to try and hit the ball to the fence. And especially at their field, the ball just flies out of there. Wind's always blowing out, so it kind of plays well for them.
That as well. So now let's get to the USPBL. Let's get to the Diamond Hoppers. This is what I was most excited about, even though I love my Golden Grizzlies. So, we were calling your games on WXOU. Like, I didn't say it out loud, but the Stache Stelling, like, I was kind of thinking that. And then I just happened to be watching one of the Hoppers games on YouTube, and I'm looking in. I paused and zoomed in. I listened, like, wait, is he on the Hoppers? And I was on Twitter, like, how did I not know this? So how did you find, what's that recruiting process like to continue now to the minor league level?
Well, so just getting to the USPBL, it was start the conversation in the fall, like before going home for Christmas break. Coach Banfield basically asked, like, what I plan with doing with, like, life after baseball. And I was like, well, if I can, like, I want to keep trying to play and, like, see if I can hack it at, like, a professional level.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, like, I might be able to help you out there. And then lo and behold, at the end of our season, I get a call from one of the coaches in the USPBL, and they want me to come throw for them and go to a tryout and end up making the team. And then had the summer I did. So, but yeah, hopefully next year and go back to the USPBL, and then maybe just get picked up and play for an affiliated team.
Definitely. And we've seen a lot. We've seen throughout the history of the USPBL, 50 players have been signed to MLB contracts. And we saw even for this season, Jake Wazinski was the first one of this season. Also, former Golden Grizzlies pitcher, went to the Twins.
Yeah, no, I was like, and of course, like, as a team, like, we gel, like, everyone loves Waz, and like, that was one of the coolest things, especially when I didn't even know Waz was still playing. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, he just threw 4 innings, threw really well, and like, it was like the next week, like, yeah, you signed with the Twins. I was like, you couldn't be happy for the guy.
Of course. And it was weird, all 4 of the players signed to this season, they all went to the Twins.
I noticed that too, and I was like, okay, so the Twins just really like this league.
Yeah, seriously, they're tuning in on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, just watching the streams, like, wait a minute, like, we might like this guy.
Yeah. It's like, wait, that Teddy guy, that Banfield, there's some great color commentators there. So you had a remarkable season playing in the USPBL. You played 13 games and had a 0.00 ERA. There were some other stats in there as well, but you were also nominated for Relief Pitcher of the Year. So you had a fantastic season. Kind of talk me through that. What was the key for this season? What do you think led to the stats that you had?
I think a lot of it was just, like, having confidence and, like, realizing, like, okay, like, I am good enough to be here. Like, at the beginning, my first outing, I think you could watch the broadcast. I was probably shaking on the mound. I was scared. I think I had like 3 walks in my first inning, and I was like, man, I just walked the bases loaded. I really don't know if this is for me. But then it was kind of just plugging away. It's like every outing got a little bit better. And then it was like my 4th or 5th outing. I was like, okay, like, I belong here. I'm here to stay.
You're like, I got this.
That's like, the confidence is back. I feel good with everything I'm throwing. And then probably a little bit of luck along the way to keep the 0 ERA. But for the most part, I was like, I'm throwing pretty well. Like, at this point, no one can hit me. At least that's the mindset.
Yeah.
And then somehow capped to 0. Honestly, a lot of luck.
It was awesome. I believe also, now that I'm remembering the stats a little bit more, batters, they hit 111 against you for your time on the mound. So for you, like, what in the coaching staff, because I've heard, and I can't remember where I heard it, but Tony Paul from the Detroit News, he was on some podcast, and he mentioned that the coaching staff of the USPBL is especially good for pitchers. So I'm curious of your opinion, like, what do you think the coaching staff, not, for the whole league, do you think, like, they have an especially good staff for pitchers, or, like, how did they help you kind of get that confidence? Kind of talk to me about the coaching staff.
I think not even just for the pitchers, I think just for everybody involved, hitters and, like, too. It's like, I think it's just a great staff all the way around. And, like, for me, like, a lot of my stuff was talking just to my teammates and my catch partner. Like, if I throw a pitch and I'd be like mad at myself thinking it was bad, he'd be like, no, like, don't worry, like, that's good. Like, that will play.
Like, I caught it. We're good.
It's like, dude, it's like, I'll throw a curveball and I'm like, okay, I didn't think that one was very good. He'll, like, reassure me. He's like, no, promise, that one was great. Just do the same thing. In the game, it'll translate. But, like, a couple of the coaches for pitching, I was mostly, like, if I was trying to learn a new pitch, I would ask them. They kind of help me figure it out. Kind of like, it's like, I like to think I'm knowledgeable enough about, like, how I pitch, and they just, from an outsider's point of view, it was perfect just to let me know, like, hey, like, this might help you a little bit. And it was like small tweaks here and there that I think propelled me just to keep throwing harder, have pitches move more. It just kind of worked out that way.
So kind of talk to me about, baseball hasn't, like, I haven't followed baseball my entire life. I kind of got into it once we started calling it for WXOU. and the schematics and the strategy of pitching, which pitch to throw, how fast to throw it, all that kind of stuff fascinates me, and I need some perspective from you. How do you decide what pitch to throw and how to throw it, and kind of that rock paper scissors game with the batter? How does that happen?
Well, I know a lot of pitchers, you have different strategies, and like for me, it's mostly like I'm just gonna do what works for me, and sometimes you can kind of read the hitter, just like see the swing. Okay, like he's really early, really late. Whether I'm gonna take a little off, throw it harder, and like, but for me, like I know fastball is up at the chest. Like guys aren't gonna hit it very well as long as I throw it up high enough. They're not hitting it, and then I'll throw the fastball up and I'll throw a curveball down. Curveball looks like a fastball until it's 10 feet away, and like and they're swinging. So normally I just play to my strengths and hope it works, and if it doesn't, just tip your hat and they got the best of you.
So it's more about what you're comfortable with as opposed to what the batter's going to be giving you. I mean, obviously a mix of both, but a little bit more towards you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like mostly like it's like if you can see the hitters like out in front, it's like, all right, the heater's not working today. I might mix in a change up and see if I can get them off balance. But yeah, for the most part, it's just working to your strengths and letting the hitter get himself out.
And I've noticed, like, when watching the broadcast, they mentioned that there's a fastball, curveball, and a changeup. I'm embarrassed to ask, but obviously, like fastball, curveball, I get that. The changeup, is that, walk me through with the changeup. Is that a specific pitch, or is that anything different?
Yeah, it's so when I throw a changeup, it's like, so curveball, you got like it kind of pops out of my hand, kind of goes up, comes back down. My changeup kind of is a different changeup. It kind of, most people, it spins a little bit. Mine kind of knuckles, which is weird. I don't really know why. I don't really know how I do it, but it just moves differently, and it's a little bit harder than my curveball. I'll throw my curveball like 75 to 77. Change it was like 78 to 81, so it's a different speed differential than I'm used to, and it doesn't pop out of my hand, so it's just a different look to give the hitter.
And how much control of the ball do you have to throw it 70 versus 90? Like, do you have a sense of like maybe that was like 74, next time it would be 75? Like, I'm curious, like how much control do you have over the ball?
Well, since like I have a different grip on the ball when I throw it, like usually it's within like when I throw a fastball, it could be from anywhere to 88 to 90 plus, and then like I grip it different, and then throw the change, it'll be like 78. But normally I don't really have that much feel. I like to take a peek at the scoreboard when it pops up there, and I know the scoreboard's off by a couple, so then I add a few, and I'm like, okay, like that's, and it's like, okay, that's right where it needs to be. Sometimes if it's lower, then I'm like, okay, I need to put a little more effort in, or sometimes even if it's too hard, I need to take a little off and I'll just keep looking back at it. Some people look at me like, what is he looking at? I just see like angry or something, like especially if I throw a ball, is he just like looking off in the distance trying to like find a reset? And like, no, I'm just trying to see how hard I'm throwing, trying to figure it out as I go.
It's like I'm not mad, I'm just looking at the board. You guys are looking at it too.
Yeah, it's like, well, especially like, people don't tend to like if you throw a fastball and you like call it a velo check, you're seeing how hard you throw, especially if you strike somebody else, so I'll look and be like, all right, that was 92, like nice. Feeling pretty good, and then walking off the field. So like a lot of people, like, you're not supposed to do. That's one of those like unwritten rules. Like, it's just not a good look, but you can't help yourself sometimes.
Yeah, you got to know it a little bit.
It's like everyone felt pretty good coming out of the hand, and you take a gander, and you're like, okay, like I am okay, like I can do that. Like, so you walk off a little bit more confidence, get ready for the next inning.
Yeah, and you're like constantly adjusting as each pitch goes by.
Kind of just like figuring out, okay, maybe it's like take a deep breath this time around, kind of like focusing. Sometimes you get a little too fast, and you like run out of energy, run out of steam, so you need to take a deep breath. Like, okay, like I want to amp up a little bit and let this one fly and see how hard I can throw it.
Yeah, and the conditioning part of it, because obviously we see pitchers warm up like an entire inning before they actually go out to start throwing, so, and the conditioning part of it, how many pitches do you throw in practice? Kind of like how do I word this? Like, how do you manage the conditioning? How many pitches is too much? Is that your coaching staff helping you, or do you tell them like, hey, I'm getting kind of tired here?
For me during practice, since I relieved a lot, I had to be ready to throw like every game. So outside of the games, I didn't really like throw a lot of pitches. Like I would play catch and warm up. Some days were like lighter and like more intense throwing days. Kind of just depend on like what I needed to do that day. But for the most part, I didn't like, unless I was pitching a game, I didn't throw off the mound. And it was just more of like a comfort thing. Like some guys throw off the mound every day. But for me, I just like, okay, we have a game tomorrow. I'm going to take today light and just like save some bullets for the game.
Yeah. And do you know ahead of time when you're going to be pitching? Like you're looking at the schedule. It's like, okay, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be pitching on the Saturday doubleheader. Like, do you know that ahead of time going into the week?
For the most part, no, but you can kind of assume like so and so threw the day before, like it's gonna be me today. But it kind of, for the most part, you kind of have to play it by ear. Like usually coach will check in, be like, hey, how you feeling? Like you can give me an inning or two today, and it was mostly like, yeah, I'll let him know. It's like I can give you an inning, or I'm feeling really good, coach. If you need me for multiple, I'm your guy. And for the most part, I bounced back pretty well. Like I recovered. Like if they really wanted me to, if they just want me to throw an inning every game, like I could probably do that. So like I was always ready, always hot for that game. So it really didn't matter.
And then from your teammates, because we saw some good pitching from the Hoppers, like in general. I remember there was a stretch of games where Luke Drummond, he would finish. There was a stretch of games, I think he finished 4 of them, and he was able to win 3 out of the 4. So from not only Drummond, but some of your other teammates, like have you picked up anything new from that pitching room?
A lot of the guys learned how to throw a new pitch. It's called a sweeper. It's kind of like a mix between a slider and it's like almost like a slower slider, but it moves more. And I was like, okay, like maybe that'll work for me because I don't throw anything that moves that way. So like it was actually kind of like I didn't end up throwing a sweeper, but it actually helped me learn how to throw like a better slider. And so hopefully next year I can bring out a 4th pitch. But for the most part, it was like the slider and a lot of stuff that we talked about wasn't even really like on the mound. I was just mental of just like being prepared, being ready to throw, and like how to like, get yourself in like that game ready mindset. It was like I think what helped most of us the most.
And kind of starting to wrap up here. What's your favorite part about pitching? You know, is it getting the strikeout? Is it the final pitch of the game? What's your favorite part about being a pitcher?
I think ending, and if you can end the game on a strikeout, but for me, since I didn't like close till the end, mostly if you ending an inning on a strikeout, especially a fastball up, you get a guy blow it by him. I get fired up, so like I start yelling, screaming, kind of get everyone else fired up. But then if you've noticed, like that walk back to the dugout's a long one, so then it's kind of embarrassing because you get fired up, but then you're like, oh gosh, like now it's a long walk.
It's like I'm still walking here.
Yeah, it's like you like chill out, and everyone's kind of fired up in the dugout, and you're like, knock, I'm done now. Like,
I'm over it. You guys are late.
It's like it's feeling's gone. Like I got to get ready for the next inning. But yeah, striking somebody out to end the game, you can just kind of lose your mind for a minute, come in, especially you dap your catcher up, like good game, and that's probably, especially getting a save, like you can have that scenario. That's just a good day to have.
And it's been a great day to have you here in the studio on the GioMo Show. Christian, this was a fantastic interview, and now I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared for calling more baseball and softball games next season for WXOU. So thank you very much for the lesson in pitching, for giving me the tale of Stelling. And you know what? Actually, before we close out, one more question. I had this written down, actually. What made you grow the mustache? I'm looking back at some of the pictures that on GoldenGrizzlies.com. You were rocking the beard for a little bit, and then the stash comes up on last year's picture.
I think it was just sometimes I'll just like I had a beard for a minute, and then one day I just decided like I'll just shave it off, and then there was one day it was just like we'll just see what I can do with the mustache, and it kind of just became who I was. Because the one time I shaved it this past fall, everyone was like, yeah, we're gonna need the mustache back. Like it's just not you anymore. Like
you can't rock the naked lip anymore.
No, it's just at this point now I think I look weird if I shave. So like I gotta have something.
And one more, I saw you use that on social media a couple times. Do you prefer #FrogUp or Stay Froggy?
It just depends on the day. I like both. I think both are great. I think all of them are funny. It's like we had a couple more that like some of the guys were coming up because they saw like both of them, and they were like, we had one day at practice where everything was #something, just make it whatever flowed best, just kind of figuring it out. So I think it's all good.
It's all good on the GioMo Show. Christian Stelling, thank you very much for coming on to the show. You can find him on social media. I'll leave all the links in the description of the video because now I'm talking like YouTube language now. You can find him next season at the USPBL with the Diamond Hoppers, do you think?
Absolutely.
Stay froggy, baby. You can catch him on the USPBL network pitching for my Frogs. Thank you very much. And you can listen to the GioMo Show Thursdays at 6 on WXOU or find it anytime on YouTube and Spotify. We'll see you next week, everybody.